Okay. And I'm like,
What I've been okay, I'll give you a little backstory. I
mhm.
My sister sent me your Instagram like I don't know, maybe like 8 months ago or something like that. And
Oh
you
God.
were doing like the cool tone makeup or something. Like that was like your
Mhm.
niche at the moment. So like I've been following you like since then and I'm just like, "Oh my gosh, it's so cool to like see you grow on like social media and like really like develop this like,
Yeah.
Instagram, like I don't know, do you like consider yourself like an influencer or like a makeup artist or like what is that like line for you?"
Oh, I don't see. I'm like, Instagram is probably my least favorite app to use. It's like one of those apps I like log in and I like post and then I log
Mhm.
out immediately. I don't know. Like, I've been working in the fashion world since I was a teenager in New York City. So
Mhm.
I feel like first and foremost, like I'll always be a photographer because that's my background. Like that's what I really like my true like passion is like photography. That's what I do, you know? And makeup is just something that I've always enjoyed. Like whenever, even as a photographer, I photograph makeup so often. So for me, it was just like, I don't know. I think I hit a point in my career where I was like, I want to try something different, something more exciting, where it's like, because times are changing, right? And like the way that I thought like the photo thing was going to pan out, like the photo, how could I say that? Like Helmut Newtons don't exist anymore. It's very rare to like find a Helmut Newton, you know? And I just feel like that type of photography world doesn't exist anymore because of digital era. So I think for me, it was kind of like trying to find an exciting way to sort of reconnect with being a creative. And
Mm.
makeup is just something I've always enjoyed doing. And it just felt natural because I've been wearing makeup since I was, a teenager growing up in New York and like the MySpace scene queen days and all that stuff, you know? So
Mhm.
it just kind of came naturally. And honestly, I was posting into the void for a while. And
Okay.
it was, yeah, like it wasn't, I remember like posting on TikTok and getting like 500 views on one of my videos and being like, oh my God, we got 500 views. You know what I mean? Like that to me was like so big that
Mhm.
like even till today, sometimes I'll log in, it like doesn't feel real, the numbers.
Mhm.
I'm like, oh no, it doesn't. I'm just posting because
Yeah.
I'm just making this content anyway. Because it's like I wanted to make things that I didn't see in the beauty community, you
Mhm.
know, and like just like talking about bringing like my background of photography and like color grading in with makeup was like such a unique and an interesting perspective of way of looking at things, the beauty creator. So I think it's just like a morph into like, I don't know. I think I'm still evolving. I don't even know what this is going to turn into, like
Yeah.
it could go in so many different directions. And I think that's the exciting part about it.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, that's so cool. I didn't know like you had like the photography background.
Like, I've photographed like Vogue covers and like I've photographed for V and Interview magazine and I've photographed a bunch of celebrities and like I love that and I want to continue doing that. And I think it's just kind of like an expansion on that, because I
Yeah.
feel like as an artist, there's like more to me than just like one facet of photography.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's almost like kind of like, how artists will get into like, doing makeup and stuff because they see it as like a canvas, like this is kind of like an interesting other version
exactly.
of that, like you're
Yeah.
manipulating the photo in like real life or something, like I kind of, yeah, I
Yeah.
see.
And because I have background in post-production for like over a decade. And so for me, like I did so much beauty retouching, like so many ads, so many, different things. And for me, it's almost like whenever I'm doing my makeup, it's like retouching in real life.
Mhm.
It's like real time Photoshop for me. So it's
Mhm.
just kind of like, I don't know, it's also interconnected in a
Mhm.
way, especially in this industry, that it's just like kind of can't coexist without the other. It's like all
Mhm.
intertwined.
Yeah. And I think that's like what I think like fashion and beauty like kind of needs is like not just like one element of like, oh, you're a makeup artist, like done. Like I think it like makes it more interesting when people do have like these backgrounds that don't come from like, fashion or photography and makeup. It's like, obviously you're taking pictures of that, but
Hmm.
it's two different ways of looking at something.
Yeah.
So like I'm curious, like do you want to like merge that more with like your social media or like show that in like an interesting way? Like, do you have any thoughts around that?
Yeah, I think I'm gonna start to like slowly introduce like my photo work in with my makeup stuff. I think I've always like wanted to at one point merge the two together. I think it's just like if you've watched every single video I've posted, I've talked about it a couple of times on my TikTok. So it's like some people know, but not a lot of people know.
Hmm.
But it's so interesting to me because like I've posted my photography work on my like Instagram and my TikTok, and it doesn't get as much love as like my makeup videos do, right? So I almost feel like some people know and some people don't just because of like the algorithm and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's like how do you share a story when people are like attached to you with like a certain niche, but it's very much like a part of who you are.
Yeah. I think
Yeah.
also it's still like in my growing era. You know what I mean? Like I'm still me it I don't know. It doesn't almost feel real, you know? But
Yeah.
in a weird way it's almost brought me more opportunities in both makeup and photography, which is really interesting, you know?
Hmm.
So it's been cool to see like it's almost like picking your own way in the industry, where there's no like handbook on how you make it in an industry.
I think that's really fair. And like it's definitely like what I think a lot of people like are kind of almost forced into that space where
Hmm.
like, like, oh, fashion design's not working out for me. Like, but this other thing is, and like I'm getting organic, growth and interest. Like maybe I'll follow this.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's kind of how it all started, right? Like with
Mhm.
photography, I was just kind of like, all right, I've been putting so many years into this, and I just feel like it hasn't progressed as much as I wanted it to. And then
Mhm.
so, you know, the makeup thing, I always have been so blessed to work with like Aaron Parsons and like Pat McGrath and all these awesome people on set. And just watching them work and being able to be around that and witness that was like such an incredible school for me personally. So it was just kind of like a natural way to just see what happens. Like, what's the worst case scenario? Nobody ever sees my videos and life moves on, you know?
Mhm. Yeah, and it definitely can like create because if you're in a fashion photo shoot, like there's photographers there, there's people to like connect with and like talk to and like share your ideas about like photography and like how maybe there's like a creative director that's like she's a makeup artist but also a photographer. Like that could be like a cool dynamic or it's like it does bring more opportunity.
Yeah, exactly. It's been so interesting to see like the response and just like also, a lot of people that I've known in the industry that are my friends and stuff and just like getting the support and it's been just really cool to see that. And
Mhm.
I don't know, it's just exciting because it's something new for me and it's a lot different being in front of the camera rather than on the opposite side of the camera, making the mood boards and doing the production and all those types of things. So it's been an interesting sort of like little switch. I was like telling my friend the other day, I was like, I almost feel like Hannah Montana or something, like living a double life, Because it
Yeah.
just feels like I put on like this makeup artist hat and then I take off the hair and then I'm a photographer or something like that.
Yeah. You're like, who, me? Like, what?
Yeah.
I love that. So yeah, let's talk a little bit about like how that all started. So like the fees not really panning out, and so you're like, I'm gonna start taking photos, and like you didn't see traction like at first. Like, what do you think was kind of that like pivotal moment where you're like, oh, this is like kind of a thing?
So I had a video go viral. It was the Pat McGrath Mason Margiela. And it was like when the fashion show had just happened, and all of me and my makeup artist friends, we were all texting, trying to figure out what the fuck it was that she used,
Yeah.
to create the glass skin and stuff. And so I made a video, and then Aaron Parsons stitched it, Pat McGrath reposted it, and then Pat McGrath's team reached out to me, and they were like the first people to send me PR or
Mm,
like Pat was like, who's this person? And like, we need to like get her in the office. And like, like just, it just felt almost like, wait a second, like this is so crazy. Like I
yeah.
literally, what, And I think that was, and then right after that, I think I had my like Izamaya beauty video go viral. And like that also led to like me working and photographing with Izamaya, with Tom Brown. So like, it's just like, again, everything's like kind of like this.
Hmm.
So I think it was those two videos where I was like, ah, and then
Yeah.
like when those two videos went viral, it because I didn't really tell anybody I was making these videos. I was like, I'm literally like shamefully just gonna post these into the void and hope nobody ever sees these.
Hmm.
Or it has to just like somehow hopefully pan out. I don't know. And so that was the moment where I was like, oh, maybe this is a possibility to like turn it into more than just like making silly little videos.
Hmm. Yeah. So like, why do you think those videos like went viral? Like, if you could like pinpoint it.
Honestly, I'm still trying to figure out the algorithm. I still don't
Yeah.
understand why certain videos go viral and others don't. It's so
Mhm.
random to me. I
Yeah.
think the reason the Izamaya video went viral is A, that palette is insanely gorgeous, and B, it was such an easy makeup look to do. It was literally two things to do to your eye look. And I think
Mm,
that's kind of always been my approach to makeup. It's like I'm a lazy person, so I'm like, how can I look the coolest, but also spend no time on having to do that?
mhm.
So I think that really like captured a lot of people's attention because I think a lot of people don't have hours to spend on their makeup every day.
Mhm.
And it sort of really opened up a horizon for me to start a series of high impact, low effort eye looks. And that
Yeah.
sort of, you know, became a whole thing in itself. And that made WWD reach out to me and they were like, we want to talk to you as like an upcoming beauty influencer. And the rest are just kind of, progressively, you just have to be consistent at it. Um,
Mhm.
but yeah.
Yeah, I think that's like what I'm seeing a lot because like as this podcast grows, I'm kind of like also trying to like tap into like because it's through the back door. It's like how do you get into an industry when like you don't have an in, right? And like I think
Hmm.
social media is like a huge way to do that. So I'm always so curious, like what is that like that thing, that moment? And a lot of people like have that, pivotal moment where something goes viral or someone wears something that they made or whatever. And like,
Hmm.
but it's like if they didn't have that consistency like behind it, then
Yeah.
it wouldn't have happened. So it's like one of those things
Well,
where it's like you have to yeah, go for
yeah,
it.
I also feel like the whole cool toned, like I started posting a lot about cool tones and that's like what people started like coming back to me for because there was sort of like this lack of people talking about cool tones in the makeup world. And it's
Mhm.
so interesting to me, like from a year ago till now, seeing how much for cool tones we have and like
Mm.
people are talking and people are more interested. And like, I think people are, makeup is coming back because for a while there, we were just like clean girl, no girl makeup was the thing for so
Yeah.
long. And in fashion, like if you look at, a lot of their editorials and stuff, makeup isn't really the focal point of anything. And I think it's coming back, which is so fun to see. I'm like, hell
Yeah.
yeah, this is what I live for.
Yeah.
So I'm excited about that.
No, definitely. Yeah. I mean, that kind of like ties into like all the questions, it's like the clean girl trend was like obviously huge. And that's when you start seeing like skin influencers and like, the
Oh God.
minimal look. And, I grew up in the punk scene. So I was like black eyeliner, thick brows, like doing all
Yeah,
that
yeah,
crazy
yeah.
shit, So I was like, I was kind of down for like the clean girl moment because it was like COVID. And I was like, I didn't wear like eyeliner for like a year and then I put it on and I was like, "Oh my God, I look crazy." But it was definitely like a change, but
Yeah.
yeah, I definitely see like a pivot and I think like people are more like expressive now, like on a daily basis in general.
Yeah, that's what I love to see. Like, I love that people are more excited to like experiment with their looks and like push the boundary a little and like not be so scared of wearing different textures and colors and just like going against the trends really is kind of like what I feel like I do. Like, I don't like the whole, all the trends, and maybe this is why I never made it as a photographer. I just hate following trends. And
Yeah.
that's kind of
Mhm.
how I felt. I just like, I felt like something was missing, and I could find it within like the social media world, right? Because things were changing so fast, even in the fashion and the photo world, to the point where I was like, okay, well, certain things happened. Like I got fucked over by an agent that I was with for a while, and that was like my last straw, where I was like, all right, I need a reset because like this is really just a lot of a mind fuck.
Mhm.
And I was just, and TikTok just kind of like was there. And it was like the perfect way to like escape and also just like, what can I do? Like I was seeing all these people in the industry also using TikTok as like a form of tool. And I was like, we're going there because I know for a long time it was very frowned upon in the industry. Nobody was like, it was so like hush hush, like it's very
Yeah.
gatekeeping. Nobody talks about anything. It's all very like shh.
Mhm.
But so what happened in the during COVID was a lot of you had to get creative, and like I did that and that was really fun. And I think I just wasn't there mentally yet where I was like, do I really do this? Like, can I do this? Like, I
Mhm.
just, for a very long time, I felt like, who's even gonna give a hell about looking at my videos and listening to what I have to say and da da da. And then I got a lot of just like my very close, your like three closest friends that are just like, yeah, do it. Just do it. Who cares? Just do it.
Mhm. Mhm.
And then I just, I did. And I think it has really opened up so many more doors for me within the industry, which is crazy. And now you even see people like Dara, from Interview Magazine. It's just like,
Mhm.
you have to be on social media. You have to.
Yeah, it's definitely like because I was in fashion school when COVID, like I think I was in my second year when COVID started in 2020, and it was like
Mhm.
fashion school and how people interacted with social media pre-COVID versus like post-COVID. I was almost a little like, this is like a little crazy, you guys. Like, like this is like
Yeah.
wild. Like posting all these things and sharing all these things. Like it kind of took me like a little while because like I'm 33. So I was in school with
Yeah.
people who were like 20, 19, and
Yeah.
it
Yeah.
took me
Yeah.
a little time to be like, not think it's so like weird. And now it's like this point where it's like, oh shit, like if you want to be in it, you have to be like being seen and doing all those things. And it's like now if you
Yeah.
don't have it, it's like, who are you? you know?
Exactly. Yeah, it's almost like that, especially when like especially, in the industry that we work, everything is so about just like being there and being present and just like being on top, just like on top of everything, and things are moving and changing so quickly that it's almost like impossible not to do that without technology.
Yeah. No, it's
Yeah.
crazy. I mean, I was even looking into like blockchain and how that's going to affect fashion and how I can like be a part, like, it's like stuff, it's
Yeah.
like, because like I was doing AI on my senior thesis and I had to like build a neural network and like now it's like chat GBT, type in you know what I mean? It's like
Yeah,
wild,
yeah.
like
I know.
really
Oof,
crazy. I'm
AI is
curious,
scary.
do you use any AI or like anything like that, like any tech stuff? No,
No, I
I'm scared
like,
like heck no.
I'm so scared of it. It literally, I'm just like, if it could do my laundry and cook my meals for me, sick. Don't
Yeah.
make the art. I want to do that. That's the fun shit. You know what I mean? Like, let me do that. Go make a meal.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Go write a cover letter for me to apply to a job, you know? Like,
Yeah, exactly. Like, go answer all the emails,
mhm.
things like that.
Yeah, no,
But
I definitely use it for more like administrative stuff. I feel like people who are creatives and working in the fashion industry, you always kind of have like a side hustle along your main hustle that's like your main goal. So I feel like it helps it helps me get this done in the like 4 hours
yeah,
during the week that I have. What is the daily interaction you have like with your social media account? Like, are you full time with it? Are you part time with it? Like, what is that like?
so social media in the last, like, I would say 3 months has completely taken over for me as far as my job goes. I'm
Mhm.
just very selective with like the photo projects that I get to take on. Like I have a couple of things coming out of the new year. I have a couple of things I'm working on, projects before the year ends. But yeah, pretty much like making content has become is becoming,
Mhm.
my full-time job. And honestly, like listen, when I made the account, for me, it was like, I'm depressed. Like, my
Mhm.
management just fucked me over royally.
Mhm.
I have nothing to lose. Like, when you're at rock bottom
Mm,
and there is no more bottom to be rocked, like, you're just like, whatever works, you
yeah.
know?
Yeah.
So I think, like, sometimes the best things come out from the saddest things that happen to us in our life. And sometimes, like, this, I had to mourn the loss of like my photo career in a way, even though all my friends are like, you didn't, what the fuck? You're just expanding.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
It's
no, but
yeah,
you don't understand. I like put like over a decade of my life into it. And it just,
mhm.
and anyway, so I never just felt like this was going to go anywhere. It was just kind of like an escape for me to get away from this like really shitty thing that was really happening to me in my real life. So it just kind
Mhm.
of became like an escape thing for me. And then it slowly, just started building itself. I'm doing my first collab with Mob Beauty and I'm
Oh,
making a lipstick.
that's
I
so exciting.
know. And it's
Wow.
supposed to be launching like around Christmas time or like right before the holidays is what we're planning for.
Okay.
So it's happening. It's
My
happening.
gosh.
I'm supposed to finalize the color this Friday. I'm supposed to get the last batch from the lab, which is so crazy. Like if you had
Yeah.
told Hannah a year ago who was like crying and being like, my life is over. I'm 31, I think I was at the time, being
Yeah.
like 31, I'm a loser, I'm single,
Yeah.
nobody fucking cares about me or my photography. And then like a year goes by and you're like, oh, making a lipstick. This is fucking crazy.
Yeah. No, I
Like,
mean, that's what I love hearing. Like I love because like I think there's a really important piece that I've noticed and like especially in fashion and culture and like any kind of thing that's like a creative element
mhm.
as like an artist or creative, we have like such a hard time like getting out of our own way sometimes with like that medium and we're just like no, I have to be the photographer, I have to be the fashion designer and like it's not until like the universe or whatever or some situation like rock bottoms you and you're just like fuck it, you know what I mean, and
Yeah,
then
yeah,
something
exactly.
else like comes along. I There's a lot of stories like that, and I think for anyone listening that's like in that space just kind of be like oh shit, what's gonna come in now, like
Yeah.
maybe do it as like a positive, not like my life is
Honestly, I
over.
feel like sometimes the best things come from like hitting like rock bottom. And
Mhm.
I think it's like if you're there right now and you're listening to this, just know that like whatever you do is going to be better than when you're at because you're trying to do something different,
Yeah.
and like don't be so hard on yourself. I mean, shit, Rick Owens didn't start Rick Owens till he was like 36.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I still
And
got like
also,
4 years.
I know, right? I know. I'm like,
Like, all
good.
right. 4 years, everybody.
I know. And I think like I personally feel like if you're in a creative field and you're just hitting all these like roadblock, it's like you're kind of almost meant to experience that so that you pivot, and then it's like then you're gonna like pivot to something that's like truly like unique and your own thing. Like it's like yes, you're doing makeup, but like you have a completely different like vision and like pinhole on it than like someone who had like a different background, and that's why people will like pay attention to like your content and like look for like your art inspiration because they like resonate with that part of you. And I think that's like really important to notice. And it's also like this mindset that's like not like it's like not very like capitalistic mindset. It's like everybody can do this but have their own take on it. And I think that's like really special but also exciting too, because
Yeah.
that means like you're not like then that means you could do it. You just can't get like beaten down by the
Yeah.
roadblocks or whatever.
I know that that's like the only downfall is like being a creative or any type of artist is like the self-doubt, right? And you're your worst critic and you'll always be battling that battle inside your head of like, am I good enough? Is this good enough? What is this? Why am I doing this? Who
Hmm.
is this for? And like all these things. But I think sometimes like yeah, you hit these walls, but I think it's important to also take a step back and just be like, okay, like I will allow myself today not to be hard on myself to have to like make a thing or,
Yeah.
have an idea because also like I don't I think a lot of creatives, our minds are on 24/7. Like it's a constant, just like, and it can be so exhausting emotionally having
Mhm.
your brain on 24/7. And I think it's important to take a break and also just know that sometimes day like slower days is what I call them is like you won't be your creative days, but you also need that in order to be able to have very creative days.
Mhm.
So I think it's important to also rest and give your
Yeah.
mind and be gentle with yourself.
Yeah. No, that's like such good advice because when you are in that like making it work phase, like you don't give yourself any breaks, you don't give yourself any grace, you don't give yourself any time to like, a day is only good if I make one thing, and I think
Yeah.
that's like I don't really feel like you can like get the thing that you need from like in your brain and your creativity if you're like clogging it with burnout.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. And it's
Or
so easily, and like you can so easily just like fall into that pattern of burnout because you're constantly like trying to, and it's so easy to like go on Instagram or whatever and just like see everybody else living these lavish lifestyles and having kind of life, and but then you don't know what's happening behind the doors, it's
yeah.
like you don't know.
Yeah,
Uh,
and it's like even like seeing someone like you and then hearing like, it's not just like you posted something, it went viral, and like now you have a lipstick, is that what it was? Lipstick or lip
yeah,
gloss? Like a collab,
lipstick.
like
Yeah.
it is like, it's like it's not just like one thing. So yeah, I really think that's like super real.
Yeah,
But
and also just like being like consistent because I think like showing up for yourself is also very important. I think that's one thing with like being a freelancer and a creative is
mhm,
you don't, the best thing is you don't have a boss, right? But like you're your
yeah.
babysitter, so like you have to show up for yourself.
Hmm.
And so I think it's also important to recognize that and like be there for yourself and like be persistent and also like have fun with it. Especially like our jobs are so fun. Like we're just make like creating art and talking about makeup and just, it's supposed to be fun. And I think that's what it was for me, like going back to like I need to like make this fun again for me because
Hmm.
it wasn't fun anymore. It became so like draining.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think that's
Yeah.
like a good time to know and like to pivot. And it's like
Yeah.
funny because like somebody would probably whose only thing is beauty and then they see you like succeeding, but it was like the opposite effect. Like, like they need to
Mhm.
find other thing so that they're not like, it's so funny how it happens like that, right? Like it's like the
I
architect
know.
wins the fashion design award and you're like, "What? I went to fashion school." Like
Yeah, yeah,
stuff like
yeah. No, for sure. Yeah, exactly. It's like, but that's just how it is, you know? And I think so much of it too is just like luck, I think, you know?
Mhm.
Just like being at the right time with the right people in the right room. And
Yeah.
so it's just, it's been fun. It's, you know, honestly, I'm having fun for the first time in a long time, it feels like. So I'm
Mhm.
just enjoying that. And I just hope that it doesn't dull down. You know,
Yeah.
I just wanted to keep growing and like whatever, and I've already said this to like a couple of my friends, like whatever it grows into. I'm not putting like
Mhm.
cap on myself or being like we're not, you know, doing I don't know. I don't know
Yeah.
where it's going to lead to, and I think that's the most exciting part, but also the scariest part because you're like what's happening? But also let's see.
Yeah, and I think that's, like, almost better than having, like, harsh expectations of, like, "Okay, I'm gonna start the photography thing again or do this." You're just kinda like
Yeah.
because I don't know, like, I was kinda struggling with this when I was out of school, and I
Hmm.
was like, "Oh, if I get a corporate design job, then, like, I'm not gonna be, like, a cool fashion person working, like, New York Fashion Week." But then I was like,
Yeah.
"Wait, like, I'm inherently, like, a cool fashion person, so, like, it doesn't matter what I do, I could be selling, like, Bitcoin and be the cool
Yeah.
fashion person." It's like it's
Yeah,
still, like, your
exactly.
essence,
Yeah.
like
It's about you and like who you are. As I think people are now so much more interested in like who are you and like what is your story and like
Mhm,
and what are your passions and like are you actually talented? And I think again, like talent is like it's social media. I think it's a lot easier now to just kind of like make a thing and like it be seen by so many more people than like having to, you know, endlessly email people for like, I don't know, things that might never even happen or pan out. And, you know, and you're just
mhm.
like, this just feels more fulfilling.
Yeah, no, totally. It's
Yeah.
almost like things are coming to you because, like, you're, like, just creating, and that's, I think, a
Yeah,
really
that's what
great
I mean.
place.
I feel like for the, like, I was like chasing this thing and
Yeah,
chasing and chasing. And then one day I was just like, you know what? I don't, I'm
we're not
my
ch
30s. I don't want to chase anymore, bitch.
yeah,
I just want to enjoy.
yeah, no, fair, and I think that's, like, a really, like, good place to be in because then you're just like, "Okay, cool. I'm getting
Yeah.
everything I need, but it's, like, more in, like, a crazier way," you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And also just like the opportunities that have been like given to me with just, you know, doing this for a year now has been so like I was trying to meet with Pat McGrath for 7 years as a photographer. You know
Yeah,
what I mean?
and it's a
It took
year. A
3 months. You know what I mean? Like it took 3 months of me posting TikTok videos for her team to it's just like,
Yeah,
oh, should I have
yeah.
just been doing this the entire time? You know?
No,
So
it's
it's
like
been,
real. I
yeah,
feel like that's like the authenticity like meter is when like things like that just come to you. It's like that's what you should be like ding 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 like
yeah,
this is weird. Like what? People like this, but I'm supposed to be a photographer. Yeah, no,
yeah.
in the creative field you get so like, pigeonholed. I'm
Okay.
literally sipping like like deli coffee right now.
I love
It's like
that.
but
I
mm,
love deli coffee. Very
I do too.
underrated.
The deli next door to me, they like really like me, so they let me open like the oat milk and leave it in like the coffee area. So
Oh
because
my
they
God, I
don't
love
really have
that.
oat milk out unless it's like unless you're in like a nicer place. I don't know, like Ridgewood, it's like kind of half there, you know.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Honestly, it's so funny because I made a video a long time ago talking about how when you're looking for an apartment in New York City, you have to make sure that there is a good deli around the
Yes.
corner because you always have to have a really good deli guy. Because there's been
Mhm.
so many times where I've gone into the deli, like forgotten my wallet or anything, just like start a tab, or they'll
Yeah.
like get you, or like some creeper will follow you home from a
Yeah.
bar and you like I've like walked into my deli so many times before being like, yo, dude, this guys like following me. So I'm just getting, he's like, oh, totally fine. Let's smoke a cigarette. And I'm like, okay, cool. Thank you.
I love that.
You
No,
know?
definitely, like, it's so true. Like, it is a vital part of like living in New York City, like, for
Yeah,
sure.
survival.
Yeah, literally. I used to like when I don't drink anymore, but like when I used to drink, I would like
Hmm.
go and like hang out with my deli guys, like behind the
Yeah.
counter and like check people out and be like smoking cigarettes in the deli. Like it was like wild times. Like they were like,
Yeah.
"Yeah, Blondie's here," and I'm like, "What's up, motherfuckers?" With like tequila, like on like a Thursday, like at like 9. Like,
Oh,
woo.
yeah.
That's why we
Yeah.
don't drink.
Uh-huh.
But yeah, like
Yeah.
no, fair.
I'm
Like
sober too. I don't drink either. So like I got you.
yeah. No, it's like, yeah, at a certain point, like we gotta
Yeah.
kind of
You're
switch
like
it up.
having a little too much fun.
Like, oh my gosh, just having like way too much fun.
You know what I miss? I miss like sort of like a community. It just
Mhm.
almost feels like a bunch of different people from different random facets of the internet are kind of like beauty creators now. There's not like like a community. I don't know. I really want to build like a good
Of like
community
what?
around it. Of
Like
just like
beauty.
creatives, of just like
Mm.
creators in the beauty industry that are just like really pushing the boundaries and like doing things a little bit differently and are like educating people. Because I think for me, education is so important. It's always like
Hmm.
what I talk or I try to talk in my videos, and references and things. I don't know, just like
Mm.
I want to
Okay.
see people get more creative.
Yeah. Okay, I love
Yeah.
this because like I don't know like how much you know about me, but I do have like a fashion networking event that has just gone online and we have like a whole
Oh.
database and it's like only it's
Hmm.
like specifically for New York right now, but I want it to grow. And
Hmm.
what I'm like trying to soak up as much information as possible and like social media and like predictions and like everybody's predicting this like wave of going back less on from the influencer and more into like a community, right? So like
Yeah.
if you have this like want to like create a community, like I think that's actually like really in line for like, the zeitgeist of like the world of like, people thinking the same thing. And I think you should like
Hmm.
totally do it.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
like I
I
think
think,
like people would love that.
yeah, I just feel like for me, I think a lot of it has become just kind of like buy this, like you
Yeah.
know what I mean? And I
Mhm.
just that's not the type of content that I really resonate with. Like I need to see that like you have passion for this. And like I think that you can tell with certain creators that like that's why they build such a strong following and an audience and people really connect with them is because there's
Mhm.
more to it than just makeup. You know what I mean? Like there's a whole sort of like an environment, a world around it where it's like that's like something that I want to be a part of. Like
Yeah.
let's just like break all the rules and boundaries and just sort of like start from scratch as like when you're a kid and you don't really like have any sort of like nothing's bad. Like you don't
Hmm.
know any of the bad, so you're just like trying to like create this like oh it would be perfect if we could all just like be ourselves and just like experiment with our looks and like let go of this like society may like makes like you have to
Yeah.
look this way or you have to wear this or you have to dye your hair like this or whatever. Like no, just be you and like who
Mhm.
are you to the core of a person. Like and I think a lot of that for me speaks through makeup because I love changing myself as a person. Like I love being different characters. Like to me, like my life is kind of like a movie is how I treat it. I'm like, okay, like today I kind of want to feel like this type of woman, and then maybe tomorrow I don't, and I want to put on more of like a backseat. Maybe today I want to be more of a boss. I don't know. Does that make sense?
No, definitely. I mean, there's this whole like idea of like my friend was talking to me about it today. It's like it's like where you like literally like some people are like literally like jumping into whole different personas and like having different names and like interacting with the world like that, you know? Like, oh, when I
Yeah.
go into this deli, I'm like Veronica, and then when I go to like this restaurant, like, you know, like, and I have an accent and I like completely like walk differently. And it's like, you know, these
Yeah.
like little like ways to just like interject something really crazy and like new into like your life or whatever, you know? Like um
Yeah.
I think that's
And
like really
also,
cool.
it's exciting because, like, what's his face? You're seeing like a lot of it happening in the music world too right now. There's like a huge surge of like pop stars coming up and stuff. And it's
Mhm.
cool to see because, like, they are also creating these really curated world. And I know that pop stars always have like very curated worlds, but the worlds that they're making today are like more like they used to back in the day, where there's like the fantasy around it and like the
Mhm.
production and like, and that's what excites me, I think, as a creative, as an artist. I'm like, I
Mhm.
want to see more of that.
Like world building.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, definitely.
Yeah.
Like I think that's like pretty I think I mean, honestly, I feel like as most creatives, you kind of like you could see that world, you could taste that world, you know what it would feel
hmm
like, you know, the temperature, like, you know, and I think like the more you can like develop that, it's like until this like real life thing, you know, it's like that's like the point of the artist, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Mhm. Yeah, no,
Yeah.
definitely. I mean, I think that's really cool. I think you should definitely do an online community too if you ever wanted. Like, I know, like,
Yeah.
that's like I'm like the community online queen somehow. I don't know how, like, my like, rock bottom turned into like fashion networking and a podcast. So,
I love that. No, honestly, that's so awesome. Hey, but what were you doing in fashion? Like,
so
what's your
I work
background?
I okay, so I went to school. I graduated 2022 and like I was working for this company called 3 is 4 and we did
Uh-huh.
like a whole collection. It was like really crazy.
hmm
But I like wasn't really making any money and then I like, you know, entry level jobs when you're like
The
I
world
was
of fashion.
21. Yeah, like it was like kind of rough, you know, because I had to like pay my I was like working to pay. I was like working to pay and work in fashion, you know,
Um,
and to like
that's the
reset.
whole thing. That's why
Yeah.
I was like, I can't spend $6 more thousand on another editorial shoot.
I know, and it's crazy because you like pay to play. Even if you're working, you pay to work, you know, because you have to make up for it somehow. Because if you're only getting paid $45,000 a year for an entry level job or lower in 2024, you know, it's kind of
Oh
like,
God.
okay, well, I have to bartend on the weekends. And like, I feel really lucky because I have like 10 years bartending experience in New York,
Yeah.
but it's still like, oh my God, you guys, you know? So that's
Yeah.
basically what burnt me out into. And I also realized I didn't know like anybody. And this is like post
Yeah.
COVID where like everybody knows everyone and everyone's like young and hip and cool. And I'm like, I'm not like old, but I feel old, you know, because I
Oh my
don't know.
God, I went to a fashion party like during Fashion Week, and I literally was like, I must be the oldest person in this room. I feel so old.
Yeah.
I should be home with my cat right now. That's
Yeah.
where I
Like
belong.
in bed with like, you know, like an IV attached to me, like dying.
I know. I'm like, I want to be watching like Dracula and like, or I don't know, something silly and just like not in like a super loud environment where everybody's so, and like, listen, I did my 20s in New York. Okay. I had the
Yeah.
best time ever. It was so
Mhm.
much fun. I wouldn't trade it for anything. But yeah, I think the older I get, I think my priorities also change. And I'm like, this is fun, but also like, I don't need to always be there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, those
Yeah.
aren't, I like, I want to connect with people. Like, I would rather have a dinner, a one-on-one, than like, or even have a dinner with a couple of people than like go to out bar hopping or something. I'm like,
Yeah.
I don't have interest screaming at you over shitty music,
Yeah. No,
you
definitely.
know?
Like more intentional like connection, you know? Like no, I definitely
Yeah.
feel that. Yeah, I'm like, "Oh, I want to take this girl out for a coffee because she does something really interesting and I want to talk to her," you know? Like
Yeah, exactly. Like connecting with other creatives that are also like yearning for that sort of like just want to like make cool things and like
mhm.
collaborate. And I think that's another thing is like now a lot of the like moving forward, I see artists collabing a lot. And I think
Mhm.
that's also like a new way of sort of like merging like viewers and like followers and stuff like that, which is also
Yeah.
really interesting. And I'm excited to see what the future holds. You know, I
Mhm.
feel like excited for the first time in a very long time, which is sad to say in like the climate that we are in today, but
Yeah.
it's like this.
Yeah, it's like one thing is happening, but then another great thing, it's like hard. You're in the middle.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you're like, I gotta also celebrate my small wins, and so it's been, I'm excited. I'm just very, looking
Yeah.
forward to seeing what happens.
Yeah, of course. Well, I think we hit all the notes. I mean, is there anything like you want to touch on that we didn't really chat about, or like do you feel like good? Like how are you feeling?
I feel great. Do you feel like you got everything that you needed
Yeah.
for,
I mean, I
yeah,
don't think like I touched that much on like the makeup aspect, but I feel like it kind
yeah,
of always comes into like we're kind of more like about like the mindset and like
yeah.
why, and I think we like really hit that. So,
I think for me, like, listen, yeah, I do my makeup, and that's always like, I love my makeup and makeup forever. And for me, like, with the makeup stuff, it's just like a way for me to express myself, and it's just like the easiest way for me to express myself. But I
mhm,
also want people to like from this conversation to take away that like it is just okay to be you and like to be different and just like it's
mhm.
fine,
Yeah.
And honestly, I think more people need to be authentically themselves, you
Yeah.
know.
No, definitely. And I think like, seeing people like you doing that, it's like a perfect example, and
Oh, thank you.
yeah, of
Thanks.
course. Yeah. No, this was like
Yeah.
super lovely. I had such a great time. Like,
Hey, thank you for having me. I'm so excited. I like was telling my management, I was like, I want to do more podcasts. I want to like feel like I want to talk more, and like again, people don't know that much about me and my past and my story, so I think it's just like another way of kind of like intertwining everything together.
yeah, of course. And people want to like hear from you and like, even like me just being like, "Oh, I didn't know like photography was like such a big like part of your background," and like it adds layer.
Yeah.
Obviously, people from like your audience want to see that. People from my audience want to know how you did it.
Yeah, 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 of course.
Little like mashup.
Totally.
Yeah. No, but
Yeah.
this is amazing.
Thank you so much. I'm so excited to keep me posted on all the things.
Yeah, of course. All right. Well,
All
have a good
right.
night.
You too.
All
Bye.
right.